for all you Endorphin Speed 2 stands, I'm telling you, as someone who's never been in the Speed 2, that this one is 100% better. If someone had told me that I could be using a speed shoe as my daily trainer, I'd be like, no way. But this shoe has changed my mind. So before we get started, a quick disclaimer up front. I am an REI employee and these shoes were provided for review, but the opinions I'm expressing are based solely on my experience in the shoes. So this is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. It's coming in at 8.1 ounces per shoe, and there's 36 millimeters of stack height in the heel and 28 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot with an 8 mil drop throughout. So if we get into the shoe, we'll start with the upper. It's kind of in between a super lightweight upper and a super robust kind of heavy upper. It's still lightweight enough to see through it. For me, it's kind of that perfect compromise. And I think of that word perfect every time I touch the laces. They're just so plush, they're so comfortable, they're the right length. And the lace is kind of tied down on the tongue, and the tongue is the thing that actually touches my foot, and the tongue is also that great compromise. It's kind of like right in between what a perfect weight would be. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it doesn't cut out, it's still got that structure to it. And speaking of structure, I think a big structural element on the upper is the heel counter. So you can kind of see me push back in there or kind of touch on the top there. It's got some structure to it. It's not super soft. It's not super rigid. I can knock on it, it'll make a sound. So it's that kind of structure to it, which helps me feel secure when I'm moving a little bit faster. So I think that's a cool element. If we get down to the midsole, it's that Power Run PB that Saucony calls out for their midsoles. And that's that similar density throughout the shoe, except for this black portion, which is actually going to be the nylon wing. And that gives the shoe a little bit more energy return, but it also adds a structural element there. It's a plush, comfortable shoe, but the shoe is still just 11 ounces.
Not even 8.
Oh, But wait, if you try the shoe today, it's actually only 8. So if we move down to the outsole, you'll see that same material from the midsole and that exposed blue section here. And then you have the rubberized portion of the outsole, which is the XT9000. Some marked improvement between the XT8099. Yeah. If you look closely, there's that little bit of a pattern. So it gives you a little bit more confidence when you're moving on stuff that's a little bit more uneven. Maybe things are wet, things are kind of loose there. And it also adds that durability to the shoe. So for a speed shoe that's pretty unique, you get that boost for durability, you get that boost for confidence underfoot, and you still get it at a really lightweight package. So a few significant updates from the Endorphin Speed 2 to the Endorphin Speed 3 include updates to the upper. It's just slightly different materials. It's built for a more comfortable fit. I was never in the 2, but I will say great things about the fit and the comfort for the 3. So whatever they did, they should keep doing that. The other thing is that there's a little bit more volume in the 3. Most of the time, speed shoes have lower volumes in general. So it's kind of nice that this gives you a little bit more of that wiggle room, even from the 2 to the 3. So the big update from the midsole perspective is this winged nylon plate. So there was a nylon plate in the Endorphin Speed 2, but in the Endorphin Speed 3, they put wings on that. And what that did is really gives you a wider base for stability, which is rad if you're using this as a daily trainer. I know for me, my form mile 11 is probably a little bit different than mile 1, although I don't want to admit that it is. And giving me that wider base really helps that nylon engage with my foot. If I can train more consistently and push my training a little bit more, then I'm really going to be engaged in that type of training. So those 3 key updates really turned a great speed shoe, the Endorphin Speed 2, into a great speed training shoe that folks can wear as a daily trainer. I think most people should include this type of run in their daily trains. I stuck the landing. I tried to convince you that daily trains were a thing. Yeah. So for me, when I think about a speed shoe, I think about energy return. And, the midsole density on this just feels really soft. When I actually pulled the shoe out of the shoebox, I was like, this is the speed shoe? Like, where's all the stiffness to it? And I started feeling around everywhere, like trying to find it. And I was like, oh, there it is. There's that nylon kind of plate that I was reading about a little bit. When I actually ran in the shoe and I felt that energy return, I tend to land a little bit more on my forefoot. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sure the plate runs throughout. And I definitely felt it on my runs. Obviously, the foam is going to give me a little bit of that energy return. It's like springier. That's the point of the Power Run technology. But the addition of that nylon plate, that rigidity really gives me that bounce back and that recoil in a way that Honestly kind of reminds me of trail running. Like when you hit a rock or you kind of get that energy response right away, it's kind of that immediate stimulus. And it's just like, pick your feet up, pick your feet up, pick your feet up. So that turnover was a little bit faster. So I actually dig the nylon plate throughout. It didn't feel as aggressive as some of the carbon plates that I've gotten to wear in some of the other shoes, but it felt like it just had that right amount of energy return. So far I've put about 22 miles on these shoes. And to be honest, that number is a little bit low because originally I thought these were just for speed workouts. And I was trying to limit the amount of speed workouts I did per week. And I have other shoes that I thought of as daily trainers. But, the first time I put them on, I was maybe stunned is too strong a word, but maybe it's not. But I was stunned by how comfortable they were. I try to go on my first run in any shoe without knowing too much about it, without looking up the specs, and just see how it feels. But I kind of knew this was a speed shoe. And so I was like, all right, I should be trying to run a little bit faster. But I noticed that it wasn't forcing me to do anything I didn't want to do. It was like, well, if you want to go fast, you're going to have to work at it still. And so it was kind of cool. It was like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to go right out the gate, charging. And I can kind of take my time to get into that zone if I wanted to. And I thought I wonder if I could run slow in this shoe. And I did. And yeah, it was cool. So as I spend more time in the shoe, I can actually see myself running a marathon or a half marathon in this shoe. That's not something I normally think about. It's not something I've ever thought about before, running an organized road race or any organized race. But this actually seems a little bit more appealing, that idea. And as I think about the shoe that I want to run that event in as being the shoe that I train in, this shoe's kind of rising to that level. So it's taking me by surprise and it's making me think that this could be my marathon shoe. What's interesting is that Saucony's like, yeah, we told you. This is a speed training shoe that you can run events in. So it's funny how sometimes my experience has to come around to the conclusion that the manufacturer's telling me. But in this case, I'm all in. I think the shoe is probably going to be an event shoe for me. So the Endorphin Speed 3 is a great shoe for anybody that's looking to incorporate a little bit of speed workout into their running routine. If you're someone like me and speed was never a focus for you, a shoe like this actually helps you accomplish that. And it doesn't do it in an overly aggressive way. You still have to work towards your speed, but the shoe helps you get there. This shoe is also great for folks that are looking to kind of just add speed to the amount of volume that they're already using for their training. So if you're doing lots of volume in your training weeks, but you're looking to push your pace a little bit more, this shoe can help accomplish that. I think the shoe is also great for folks that are just looking to run an event, but maybe want a PR or want to push the pace that they're used to running those events in. Again, it's really helpful to train in the shoe that you'll actually run the event in. And you could put a ton of miles on this shoe training and you can lace it up on race day and still feel just as good. And it looks fly. The blue on blue and that little Saucony kind of call out. I mean, this shoe just looks good. I like blue in general, so I kind of rock some blue shorts with these. And yeah, it looks great. So if you're just a person that's like, man, I keep showing up to my run club and everybody else looks flyer than I do, not anymore. Grab these shoes. You'll look great. You'll be the envy of everybody in your run club. So that's my review of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, but I'd love to hear from y'all. Are you somebody that loved the Endorphin Speed 2? Have you had a chance to try out the Endorphin Speed 3 yet? What do you think of the updates? What's your go-to favorite speed shoe? What do you think is the shoe that looks best when you show up for your run club? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read them. Everyone I knew loved the Endorphin Speed. Everyone I knew. Yeah, just like Endorphin Speed 2s everywhere, yeah.